Hawa. Let go. Oh, okay. So, wow. You guys don't even know I was talking this whole time muted. So yeah, I said a whole speech, man. Let me see if I can remember. So I told you guys I was coming, with my own kind of like show right here just to discuss, have people on, guests, present whatever they like so we can build together. I put my email in the chat just now. I was saying because if you want to be on episode 2 or 3, and just let me know. Of course, I'm gonna filter everybody out. We don't want no bad vibes. We don't want no debating. We don't want no hateful things. We're just trying to build and be positive. And if you want to input, if you ever want to, somebody to hear you out, we got a good audience. Most of the time here. So if you want to bring a build, we can do this on a Friday. Today we got Yisaa Faal Simarron. He's a good brother. I've been talking to him I think more than a year now. He's got a lot of interesting information and knowledge in his travels in life and experience and his investigation, a whole different perspective, which correlates a lot of it with the investigation and with the research we've been doing. So I guess I asked him, you want to be first one? He said, yeah, of course, right away. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And again, we're just gonna build. If you have any questions or anything, just let us know. Yisaa, go ahead and introduce yourself, brother.
Yes, I. Heya, heya. Excuse me, my my mic was mute.
No problem.
So yes, I'm from French Caribbean. Martinique, Guadeloupe, all those the little islands below
Okay.
Puerto Rico, Jamaica, and all stuff like that. My father is French. I spent more than 20 years in France, especially in the south and west. And I spent 10 years of my life in West Africa, in Senegambia. I studied at university. I have a English degree in Arabic. So I study Arabic sources in history too. And I spent many, many years in the Caribbean. So I have 40 and I'm about to have 41 in a few weeks.
Okay. Okay. So
And yes,
you've been around.
what did you say?
So yeah, sounds like you've been around. So what?
Yes, I turned all over the three continent, Europe, Africa, and the Americas. I went to Boston, Miami. I went on Miami Circle in town, and I invite you to go there and to ask for 1 or 2 hours in Miami-Dade County archives, because you have to call and do a reservation for 1, 2, or 3 hour maximum, and it's not all the time that you can go into that archives. Well, so Miami-Dade County is a huge place to do research, and I went there. And
Okay.
I went to the Everglades and Seminole reservation, and I I went throughout the Bawol and the Kayor in Senegal, and the Sin Saloum, and all those ancient kingdoms that are not so ancient. Because when you look before the 15th, 14th century, there's no kingdoms in those places. You can heard about ancient Ghana that was located in actual Mauritania, and not the Ghana that you know today. You have to know that it is
Okay. Okay.
Nkrumah, the father of independence, who renamed Ghana, the actual Ghana, the current Ghana,
Uh-huh.
in homage, how you say, greetings to the ancient empire of Ghana, that we say Gnawa. In Morocco and Algeria, you have some descent of that ancient kingdom. And some Lebu chief in Senegal, I heard for them that their people were from India, and they
Uh-huh.
traveled in Africa 1,000 years ago. And I have a video of and we maybe while you will
Okay.
have a
So
locution to the audience, I will
okay.
spend some minutes to find the link.
No problem. So
I have
just
yes,
to
I
recap what
yes.
you just said so everybody can understand. So you were talking about the West Africa, and you're saying there's really no history of a real ancient kingdom in that part of the world. You know, and you also said that there was an ancient Ghana, but it was in Mauritania. It wasn't where it's located today. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ghana was not in the place where it is located nowadays, and you just do a simple Google research. It is not hidden. It is not hidden. You can find it easily.
Okay.
That it's the father of independence, Nkrumah, who renamed that place Ghana in an homage. It's an homage. Yeah, it's greetings to ancient kingdom, which was located in Mauritania, and the ancient capital of that kingdom was named Kumbi Saleh. And this is the only kingdom that you can say that it's ancient, because when that kingdom split, you find a lot of little kings and kingdoms in the Gambia and in Nigeria and all that stuff. But when you look at the pyramids, the two pyramids that they found in in Zinder, West Africa, and they
Uh-huh.
said that they are built as like Aztecs pyramid, and the type of pyramid is like a
Where are those
stairs,
where are those pyramids?
like Aztecs. Zinder. I will show you all the sources, and the only conference that you can find is a French African who speak a very bad English in United States, and I will send the two links that, man. But it's you can understand, you can understand what he says. But Zinder, it's a place in Niger, not Nigeria. You know, there
Mm-hmm.
is two places.
Yeah.
Nigeria, it's an English-speaking country, and Niger is a French-speaking country. But they share a limit,
Okay, is this what
a
you're talking about?
border. But yes, but Niger, yes, Zinder. No, I don't know if it is what. No, no. The
Cinder.
Zinder is very unknown.
Found in Cinder.
Zinder,
Okay.
Z
Yeah.
Zinder in Niger, and it's Hausa people who find it. And they said that there is inscriptions and but
Okay, I
the
see what you're saying.
scholars won't talk about it because they
Okay.
are on Gizeh plateau and all stuff like that. But yes,
Uh-huh.
this is in the below. Below, this is in the, and there is two pyramid. But
Okay.
when you look
So
closer,
so
you
this looks,
find
yeah, this
traces.
does look like an Aztec pyramid,
But
so you know,
yes, but they said that it's much more older than the Gizeh plateau, like
okay.
much more older.
Okay.
That we know that the Gizeh plateau, it's a reconstruction
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
ruins
Yeah.
made in the 50s, and
Yeah. Shout out to
there is
UB
footage of
News.
it.
Yep. Shout out to UB
Yes,
News for exposing that.
and can show you the same thing with Stonehenge in England. I have
Yes.
a full footage of the construction in the 15 of that so-called archaeological site. But you can find some stones placed
Yeah.
in circle
This is when they
in
this
yes.
is when they built Stonehenge 60 years
Yes,
ago.
I have a footage. If you want, I
Let
share
me
it.
see. I think we
A
have it.
footage of it.
Fair use. You see. Okay, yeah. So see, this is
But
before they started building it. There was nothing there. You see, where's the stones? All right.
and if you just do a simple research, you look at all the kingdoms in West Africa before colonization,
Uh-huh.
you won't find a lot, and you won't find ancient or antiquity or things like that.
Yeah.
But
So
there is some, but it's the Songhai in Mali and the river Niger with Sonia Liber, and but it's not huge and it's not ancient because
yeah.
those people they came from other places. Like in Congo, you have a big debate, and many tribes of Congo said that they are not from Africa. The Dan,
Mm-hmm.
a tribe called the Dan, Didan, in Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, they claim to be Jew, and they had contact with Israel, and they sent a rabbi, and the rabbi certified that they were Jew, original Jew. Even their language is Jew. I can show you the link. All the
So when you
things that
say when you say
I'm saying
Jew,
now, I have all the
wh-
sources.
so when you
Jew,
say Jew,
Jew,
yeah,
like
like from
Hebraic, Hebrew.
okay, so
Hebrew. I can
from
show you many
where did
things.
they originate?
They said that they are from the tribe of Dan, and after
Okay,
the invasion of Babylon, they flee, and they arrived in Ethiopia. And in Ethiopia, when they arrived in Ethiopia, they crossed the continent until they reach the Sudan and a place called the Mali. And from the Mali, they reached, after the Mali Empire splitted, they founded other villages and other little kingdoms in West Africa. But West Africa, the first people inhabitant of that land was the Pygmy, the Khoisan. And even the Africa know that the Bantu people came in Central Africa and conquered that place, and they are not from that place. Every Bantu know that, even their traditions
so
say
so
that
where do you
the
think? What do you
Bantu
think
came
they are?
and eradicate the Pygmy people.
Yep, yep. That's what and also didn't they with the Khoisan, didn't they the Khoisan were already there, and that they have stories similar that the Bantu came.
Yes, the Khoisan were already there, like the
Okay,
Pygmy.
and where do you think they originated? The Bantu?
The Pygmy,
No, the
the
Bantu.
Bantu.
Yeah.
I think the Bantu. I think, and you will say that I am a crazy guy. I think they are
Test
from
me.
Caucasian mountain.
Oh,
I am.
that's where my
For me, they
research.
are
No,
from.
listen, that's my research is leading to the same, and I got future videos on that. And I've been trying to tell people, because when you see Aboriginal or indigenous Russian people from the Caucasus Mountain, that's who they were really depicting when they were wearing those hats. I don't know if you've heard of the Absakians, I believe Abscassian.
Mhm.
So these are from the Caucasus Mountain. These people right here, and they call them Afro-Absakian, Abkhazian, but they're not Afro anything. There's no genealogy or proof to say that there's a migration from Africa over there, and that's why they're colored. Now, if you see, a lot of the times, if you even in the more science, they'll tell you black Asiatics, right? And on some original anthropological books, they're listing the Caucasian, as a so-called Negro person. We know that the Slavs, there was two types of Slavs: the dark-skinned Slavs and light-skinned Slavs. Not just they were from Moravia.
And also for the Vikings,
Yes, the Danes. Yeah,
we
the
know that
Black
Viking
Danes.
is a
Yep.
name given for by the historian, but the
Yeah.
Viking were not. They did not call themselves Vikings. In Spanish, there's a word who is very close to the French word vermejo.
Okay, red.
Do Yes, red. Okay,
Uh-huh.
you said
Yeah.
it. Because
Yeah.
in French it's the same. When you say vermeil, in French we say vermeil. And when you say vermeil, it's like a brown reddish. Yes, it's like mahogany. You know,
Mm-hmm.
wood. It's like mahogany wood.
Okay. I got an Absakian right here. You see him? He's from the
Yes.
Caucasus region. So you see those hats that Russian soldiers wear, they were really mimicking the afro. Now,
And you know
think about this. Think about
about
this.
Ibra.
If
Yes.
okay, now, what would be warmer? Straight, fine hair, soft, or something like this, and for a place like that in the Caucasus region or Russia or something like that. What do you think would be warmer?
You know, in Russia there is desert. There is hot desert. Russia is different climate. But
Mm-hmm.
when you see Eskimos or Inuit people, they are brown skin of a copper color skin, and they live up north. And when you go to Scandinavia, you see the people are blonde, blue eyes, and very light complexion of skin. So the climate does not really influence
Yeah, no, it's not
the color
climate.
of the
No,
skin.
definitely not. It's not the climate. That's definitely not. Definitely not. That was just something like saying out of Africa, everything out of Africa. So it's not. I don't think nations are crayon colors. So people are crayon colors. But you see,
Something
they're wearing wool in their head to keep warm. That's what I'm trying to show you. You see, but he could just use his hair, and it looks like they might have even had wigs on. These people. All right. So what else would you like
you know a
to?
poet from Russia, a poet from Russia called Pushkin. I just forgot his name. It's Tolskin. No. I just forgot his name. The great poet in Russia. His grandfather is a black man, and they invented a story of a slave from Cameroon, shipped to Europe, and sold to Ottoman Sultan, and from there he was offered to the Tsar of Russia and raised as a son of the Emperor of Russia and sent to Paris to learn military stuff and got back to Russia and organized all the military system of Russia. He is called Abraham Petrovich. But I think that the story of the enslavement from Cameroon and throughout Europe and Turkey, Ottoman, Istanbul, and I think it's not, it's too much for me. I think they were actually Russians. And why so much privilege given to Abraham Petrovich if he's not the emperor's son or nephew or what else?
Yeah.
There's a so-called slave, and you gave him so much privilege and a so high position in Russia.
Yeah.
So
We know there's
it's
a lot
weird.
of right now. I'm going through the website, Real History, very good website. They always got some good information showing us the Black Russian and Balkan. It says the original Russians
Alexander
here.
Pushkin. Yes,
Yeah.
in the chat they find the name. It's
Yep.
Yagastek. Say Alexander Pushkin. When you found that the grandfather of Pushkin is totally black, totally black, not like
So
light
they made
skin
up.
or what.
So you're saying they made up the Cameroon story, right?
Yes, they made
And
up the Cameroon stone.
what do
For
you
me,
think
they
his
made up.
what do you think his genealogy really is, his ancestry or his bloodline?
Is the Songir man. He's a Songir tribe man for me. That's you just
Yeah,
shown the
he's one of
image.
these he's one of these so-called Black Russians.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Right. That's deep. So, this is a whole history like we're about to get into. Plan to get on. So that's why I wanted to get this brother in here so he can, based on his research, what he's seeing, even over there, he's gone to libraries over there. He goes all over the world. He travels and he's learning and he's studying all these things. And this is not made up stuff. This is actually images from Russia. The iconography over there, the Christian one especially, it just shows
You
a
can
lot
check the scriptures.
Yep.
You can check the scriptures, the writings on it, and you can see it's Cyrillic writings. It is Russian scriptures.
Yeah.
It's Russian writings on it. And on my Pinterest, I have like 3,000 image of Black people in the medieval European continent.
Okay.
So it's a lot, and I know it's not all of it.
Well, we appreciate, the knowledge. Yeah, it's a lot of history being left out that, they don't tell us. They just wanted us to picture all of Europe as white, and, they started whitewashing everything.
Europe was not.
Look at this. This is a cathedral
a
in
white
Russia.
Continent.
Nope.
You know the shadow man. You already saw the shadow
just they're asking for the link to your Pinterest. Do you have it? You can put it on the chat.
Oh yes. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
I put it on the chat.
No problem. Much love and respect to Vaso Breeze 3000, with the soundtrack once again. Yeah, much love and respect to everybody tuned in. We just, vibing, we just building with the brother Yisaa Faal Simarron. Episode 1, Kurimeo Meditations. Plan to do this every Friday. All right, special guests every Friday.
So if you go in the chat, you can put my link,
okay.
My Pinterest link up the chat. Just yeah.
Okay, let's see it. Here we go. So Yisaa Somarron, this is his. So where do I go? Illustration, no air, no air.
No, if you go on my my comment in the chat.
Yeah, I clicked on it.
On the right, you can select it and put it up the chat.
Yeah.
Like a banner.
Okay. Oh, like a banner. Okay, I see.
So you'll find American indigène. It's in French, but it's not videos. It's only pictures, so you don't need to.
Oh no, this is pretty. This is great. No worries. This is great images right here. Great images right here.
And you can go down. You will find a lot of it.
Yes.
that you never
So,
saw.
all right. So we're supposed to imagine that all these people ended up in Africa, and So what do you think? Now you're saying a lot of the African elders, right? You told us earlier. They told us that they originate from somewhere else, not from Africa, right?
Yes, in fact, if you listen to all oral tradition of all the tribes and all the people and the nations in Africa, they would say that the place they are living in the current days are not the place where their ancestors were living. That means that they came from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And when you study all the oral traditions, they tell you they all come from the great water over beyond the great water. So what is that great water?
Yeah. So we know that in my corn videos, we know that the Monday speaking people, they were bringing it. They had their stories of corn, bringing their corn with them from that side of the world, coming from America. And where else would they get corn from? What do you think about the corn thing? All these ancient people had corn, right, in West Africa before Columbus.
And you can add to that that the first Portuguese, when they first came on west coast of Africa, they saw women with pipes smoking tobacco, and that plant is originally from the Americas, not from Africa.
Yep. Okay.
And it was before colonization, before shipping a slave from Africa or what.
Uh-huh.
It was at the time that the first Portuguese, they call them Portuguese, but everyone know that they were Maranos from Portugal, because the Inquisition of Catholic Church, they were purchased, they were hunting Jew and Muslim at that time, and they become crypto Jew, crypto Muslim.
Yeah.
And even in France, there were a law proclaimed by the king called L'édit de Nantes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a proclamation of the king. L'édit de Nantes, it was to ban all Jew and Protestant from France. Just kick them out from France. And so they
Yeah.
had to go somewhere else. And a lot of went to the Americas to practice their religion freely.
Yeah. So we've been doing the research with that. We've been doing a lot of people's genealogy. It is matching up. So it is real history, as you're saying. These people were being persecuted all through Europe by the Catholic Empire or other powers, and they would have to be moving around, like you said. For them, going to America was like a promised land where they can practice their religious freedom of religion, right? That's all that's part of the Constitution
So,
of America and all that, and that has an origin.
so that we can deduce that, like the Inquisition, the Catholic Inquisition of the
Uh-huh.
Catholic Church, when they hunted Jew and Muslim, most of them were black complexion. You have to know that, and they were not all from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know that too,
Yep,
because
definitely.
the king of Spain was black,
Yep.
Carlos Quintos, and there is two
Charles the Fifth, right?
in the fifth, Carlos Quintos. And he had, when you look his genealogy, you see that he was related to German royal family, French royal family, or Austria, and Holland, and also England and Italy, and all those family, they were perpetuating weddings, marriage among the royal family of Europe. So that's why you can find all the black, so-called black nobility in Europe, and the majority of the people became white because there were a lot of invasions, like the Visigoth,
Mm-hmm.
like
Uh-huh.
the Hun, les Huns. I don't know how to say it in English, but you spell it Hun. How do you say that? They were from
The Hun.
Mongolian steppes.
Yeah, the Hun.
Yes, the Hun, and they conquered Frank Reich. They conquered the German, and they arrived in France. And when I was a little boy in France, I studied this, that Attila and the Huns came to France and they crushed the
Yeah.
Germans.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned that
I
when I
I
was
believe
a
I
kid,
believe
and
these
everyone
because
know that.
see I believe because based on my research that
All those
what
priests are black. Huh?
well
You
what
saw that.
what
It is in Paris.
yeah,
Go up, go up, go up, go up.
which one? Okay.
All those priests down
Yeah.
on knees. And it's a very famous place in Paris. It's Notre Dame of
Mm-hmm.
Paris. And you saw all you go up. It's a very interesting. You are going down.
Okay, go up. All right.
No, it's up the page.
Hmm.
You just passed on. But this is a huge canvas that you can analyze, and you saw that all the priests in Paris and the noble uh, family are black, and it's a very famous place. But because that church just burned when I was in Miami in 2019, the church, big church Notre Dame, just get burned in
Yeah.
Paris, and you can
Yeah.
saw. Yes, just go up. Oh, you were next. You go up. You. Well, no, this is a scan. This is a scan of the canvas to show how they whitewashed the canvas, because the scan that you saw
Mm-hmm.
just up there is a proof that it was a dark complexion people, and they whitewashed it. So that's why they
Yeah.
scan it to
Yeah, I think that your video is a little delayed. Try refreshing the page. But yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I saw the scan. So
okay.
they scanned it and it
Okay.
looked like yeah, like it was a different person after it got scanned. Okay, so this is what's found in the Larco Museum in Lima, Peru. That's what I've shown people a lot. And yeah, this is where it shows Charles V as a so-called black man right here. This is Carlos Quinto, as you're saying, Carlos Quinto. And these are the Incas before him, and they're almost the same complexion. You see. Um, so yeah, you even got Mango Manco Capac, who's supposed to be the originator. All right, it's a little close up right here. It's Charles V. So I'm not sure, we can't go backwards, So every time, we got to stop thinking every time we talking about like a Spaniard or English or Portuguese. We're not, got to stop,
You know, I
got to
have
stop
other.
picturing. What?
This picture is not
Uh huh.
the only one of Carlos Quintos. You just
Yeah.
shown the one which is in Peru,
Mm-hmm.
in a church in Peru, but this one is in Europe, and there is
Mm-hmm.
three other ones that you can
Yeah.
clearly recognize his face and his how do you see the menton? You can recognize his face without. Oh yes, this one. But when you read the comment below, they say that it's another person, but you can't recognize it is the same.
Yeah, so it says this painting is falsely called the Balthasar the Moorish king. Yeah, so they try to always like make
No,
these people.
no
They
fucking
no,
Balthazar,
they.
excuse me.
Don't worry. They try to make these people basically the one of the three wise men all the time, like mythical, like it's just an allegorical painting, but it's that's their excuse. We know, we know that painting in the Larco Museum. That's not allegorical. So yeah, this person's dressed just like an emperor of the Holy Roman Emperor would dress. The clothing, if you understood everything, the sefer that he's holding, you would know who this person is. And it's not no Balthasar or Moorish king. It's Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor. So it's a Catholic. So Imperial Crown of Austria. Yeah, that's what he's holding right there. And this is a face. What is this? Blackout history appears in the reign of Joseph Napoleon. Napoleon is another suspect. I'm gonna do a video on. All right, so that was Charles V. We know
Napoleon was a Corsican man. You know that?
Napoleon Corsica
is a yes. All his family is from Corsica.
Mm-hmm.
Corsica is not a real French. Yeah, Corsica is an island next to Sicilia. Is in Sardinia, in Mediterranean Sea. It's not from the continent. It's from an island of the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah, and this Corsica, is their coat of arms.
You see all the Moors. I went 3 months in Corsica, and I studied the story of Corsica in Corsica, and I interviewed a lot of white people who told me that they are descent of black Moors. And I remember when the plumber just told me that his son was standing next to him, and he was upset. And his father said, "Yes, we are descent from black people." And the son was upset about that. I remember that story. I lived it, and I was in Bonifacio, the very south of Corsica.
Okay.
The map that you are showing now.
Okay, so you've been there. Yeah.
From Marseille, and from Marseille, I got to Corsica, and I arrived in a port called Porto Vecchio.
Okay.
And I was surprised that all the people, they just tattooed a black head on their body, just like everyone. And I say, "Man, why are you doing that?"
Yeah, so Napoleon. Napoleon is
flag. This is the flag of our
so
country.
Napoleon Bonaparte is from Corsica, and Corsica, as you can see, everybody,
yes,
in the middle of the Mediterranean, in the middle of the Moorish world at that time. This is the Iberian world right here.
Napoleon did not understand a word of French. French is not the mother tongue of Napoleon.
What did he speak?
The Corsican people have their own language.
Okay. What is it related to?
And Sicilia, La Sicile. How do you say Sicilia?
It's a Romance language from the Italo-Dalmatian family that is spoken predominantly in the Mediterranean island Corsica. Related to the Tuscan varieties from the Italian peninsula, and therefore the Florentine-based.
I don't think it was black. Maybe it was Tony, because at that time, maybe there you will find in Mediterranean people, even the so-called white, they are Tony in the south. But I think that you must check the daughter of King Louis of France. and the Moress of More is there is a picture of her, and she's totally black. And if
Well,
she is the daughter of the king,
yeah.
the king
Well,
must be some
we
kind
read
of
the
something.
well, we read all the anthropological, well, many of the anthropological books of the indigenous people
I
of Italy, and
I
they were all
I
describing them as Swarty,
I
Negro, dark skin. So, and we've seen the pottery. We've seen, I mean, we know. I mean, look at it. I mean, it's bordered to Africa, right? And all this, we know the history of the Pegasus people, the Greece, with the ancient Greeks. We know a lot of most of this was all Swarty, all Swarty people, dark skinned people, melanated people. So we know the true history. So when you're saying he's from Corsica, that's just, to me, I already
and
knew, because
everyone
I got
know
a
that.
future video on Napoleon, and I'm investigating him and his relation in Haiti and in the Americas. All right, so
Ah yes,
yeah.
I can advise you uh, to watch documentary, a
Mm-hmm.
French documentary on the campaign of Egypt of Napoleon,
Okay.
and you can have English subtitle easily because it's a documentary
Yeah.
with
Well, that's what I'm
a good
telling you. I mean,
French,
there was
so
really nothing.
Google can translate.
I really believe that when they're talking about Napoleon and France being in Egypt, they were talking about the real Egypt, and that's why that whole area was France, the Louisiana
The-
Purchase
y-
and all that, and they were shipping things out of
yes,
America,
yes.
putting them
When
in museums, and talking about it came from Egypt.
yes,
There was nothing in Egypt because you said
let
it
me
earlier.
tell.
They just rebuilt that.
Yes, they rebuilt that, and let me tell
Hmm.
you something. When the French conquered Egypt, the English people came just after,
Uh
and they
huh.
took all, they fight the French and they kick out the French from Egypt, and they took all the research that the French did and all the artifacts, and that's why the Rosetta Stone, the Rosetta Stone is in British Museum, because the French, they lose the war in Egypt, and
Uh huh.
they were um, shipped to France as losers by the English. They signed a treaty of resignation. So, so they keep them out. And the English people took all the artifacts. And the French, they conserved only few little statues, figurines. I won't say statue because it was allowed only to take what you can wear by yourself. So
Hmm.
some drawings and things like that. But the French, they lose all the years of study but they find the stone of Rosette in in um, in 1799.
Uh huh.
That means that between the the decline of Roman Empire and Napoleon, no one could read or write,
Yeah.
so, or even knew that language. It's like they invented all,
Hmm. Oh, we
or
we
they
will.
took it from another place and bring it there,
I've seen the
over there.
documentaries on that
And
actually, so I wouldn't disagree on the Rosetta Stone and what they,
so,
yeah.
for my part, before Napoleon, I
Uh huh.
can show you maps of 500 years, maps of 300 years, and there is Africa on those maps. There is maps of 600 years, and there is Africa on those maps. And on the map of Africa, you can see castles all over the continent, but
Hmm.
you can't find a single pyramid anywhere. So I told you that I have a degree in Arabic. The Arabic, they conquered Egypt in 603 39 639. So it was the seventh century
Mm-hmm.
of our era, and they did not notice any pyramid. You cannot find a word on pyramids in Arabic scriptures, in Arabic chronicles, in
Hmm.
Arabic historians.
Ooh.
A single, I speak
Mm.
Arabic. I
Wow.
went to many Arabic speaking countries and spent
It's not even
many
part of their.
years
So
over
it's not even
there.
part of their
I read
alphabet.
Arabic. You
Wow.
can't find any pyramids in any documentation in Arabic. It does not exist. And they are the people who conquered Egypt before Napoleon, and they can't say a word about it because they didn't even saw it
Yeah.
before Napoleon. And
So Napoleon
the
introduced the
weirdness
concept
of
of
the
Egypt
story.
and the whole pyramids and all that, the whole mythological world, the whole story,
You,
the
you
Great
know
Pyramids.
why they named Louisiana? Do you know why they named Louisiana? Louisiana. Why they named that place Louisiana? It was because of the king. After the king of France, it was named after the king of France. So that means that the French
Yep. Yep.
came
King
in
Louis.
the Mississippian,
Yes.
yes, King Louis. And I told you that the daughter of King Louis was black. There is a very famous canvas of it, and
Yeah. Well, I got a
I
future
wrote the
video. I got
title
a
of the
future
canvas.
that actually correlates with my future video about the Washita Moors and their relation with the King and Louis and who was Joseph Masson Roach, who got the land grant, the Spanish land grant, and why he got a Spanish land grant, and what happened to King Louis XVII. So yeah, there's a whole mystery right
Yes,
there, and
yes, but
we're gonna link it up.
Louis the 14th and the 16th, they are
Si-
the most famous king. And
Yeah, the
Louis
16th
the
got
14th,
the 16th got he got beheaded, right? He got murdered, right? There was
yes.
the French Revolution, and then he got tried and he got beheaded. His son
there's
supposedly was arrested. His son, and
no
this
there's
is a
no
spoiler.
French Revolution.
This
This
is
is
yeah,
all
yeah,
fake and
yeah,
lies. There's
yeah.
no French Revolution.
So
There's
tell us
the
what they did.
revolution. There's a you know, the
Hmm.
bourgeois. How do you the wealthy people?
Yeah, the bourgeois.
They wanted
Yeah,
the power because they had more money than the king.
yeah,
But the privileges
yeah.
of the monarchy did not fit with their agenda. So they organized
Hmm.
how to raise the people, the population against. But it's only the people, the poor people in Paris. So what they did, they increased the price of how to say farine to make the bread. You know, to make the
Hmm.
bread.
Yeah,
How to say farine in it? Farina. ¿Cómo se dice farina en inglés?
Fadena. Not sure what you're referring to.
And to make bread, you have to use the you know, something to make the bread. I don't know how we check on Google how to say in
Hmm.
English. I forgot farine. Yes, flour.
Flour. Okay, the
You know,
flour. Okay.
flour,
Hmm.
flour to make bread. To increase the price of flour, uh, and the poor people of Paris, they went in town, and there were wealthy people who came and used that force, the force of the people and the hunger of the people for their own purposes.
Yeah, it was led by one
But
guy. I know what you're talking about. He was a very wealthy
yes,
guy. He had a
there's
lot of
no
connections.
French Revolution because the rest of the country, there was no revolution in the rest of the country. And you have to know that at that time, no people would could speak French. French is a very new language. French is started to speak. They started to
yeah. So you were talking about
to say that it was the official.
One of the persons you were mentioning was Maximin Robespierre. He was and then the other guy,
yes, but
George Danton, Georges Danton.
After that.
After that, he got executed for what he did.
Danton, Robespierre.
Yeah. So now we got we have a lot of whitewashing. This is all whitewashing, most of it right here. We're gonna because we're investigating all these people, and we're seeing the true meaning, like you're saying, behind all these things, what they're calling French Revolution and why they beheaded.
Some of them were advocating for the abolition of slavery, because some of them said the revolution, now everyone is free from monarchy. So we want the Negroes in the Americas to be free too. And some of the Jacobins in the parliament did not agree with that, so they killed them.
Yeah. So you was talking about the alliance. You were talking about
a Mason plan. It's a Masonic plan. You know what you call French Revolution? It's not a revolution at all.
Yeah. There was by secret orders. Yeah. Secret public orders.
Yes, if you look at the documentation, the declaration of the human rights of 1789, you will see that on the top there is a very symbolic message. On the top there is a pyramid with the eye, and it is not hidden. But on the left you have a woman, and the chain, there is a chain goes under the clothes attached on his feet, but you cannot see the chain no more. So it's like a message that we free you to put you another chain that you can't see.
You were telling me about the first European that actually went and survived and came back from Africa. What was his name again? The French guy?
René Callier. I'm going to write it down in the chat.
Okay.
And before him, there's no European people who came
the
back
reason
alive.
Okay, so the reason I asked this is because as just I was gonna explain, as he mentioned it earlier. There was like they told us about. Let me see.
In the chat, René Callier.
On the Zoom chat,
and they said that between René Callier, there was only one people who were not African who reached Timbuktu, and his name was Ibn Battuta, one of a famous traveler, very famous in Arabic tradition, because Ibn Battuta wrote a lot of chronicles that we use in history nowadays. And we say that Ibn Khaldun
Uh-huh.
also is a big liar, because Ibn Khaldun wanting to relate the Berbers with the original Arabic people of Yemen, but it's a fairy tale. There's no
Mm.
such a thing.
So I believe, this is a whitewashing image of him. Of course, there was no photographs during this time. This is a drawing. So Auguste René Callier was a French explorer and the first European to return alive from the town of Timbuktu. Callier had been preceded by Timbuktu by British officer Major Gordon Lane, who was murdered in September 1826 on leaving the city. So look, when we talk about Europeans arriving to Africa, right? You guys gotta pay attention. This is the first one that actually made it out alive. Say, hey, we can start going over there, colonize. There's people over there. They're trying to make deals. So this was the first guy. This is in the 1830s, right? It says Calais returned to St. Louis in 1824 with a strong desire to become explorer and visit Timbuktu. In order to avoid some of the difficulties experienced by the early expeditions, he planned to travel along disguised as a Muslim. So he's in the 1700s, 1800s, and he's trying to disguise himself as a Muslim, but he looks like this white guy right here. Do you think he can disguise himself as a Muslim if he looked like this? I don't know. It'd be logical. All right, so this is the guy that supposedly made it out alive first. So now we're talking about that they were bringing so-called Africans,
Maybe he converted to Islam to travel across Senegambia and reach Timbuktu, because if you
yeah,
weren't there, you were probably be killed. But maybe he pretend to be Muslim. I show you that at that time, if you were Christian and white, and so because the Tubabu, the white people, we call in all over West Africa, we call all the white people Tubabu. The Tubabu, if they were converted to Islam, maybe they could travel further into the continent.
Yeah, I understand that, but that's what I'm saying.
You
but if
probably won't.
But if he looks like this, he can't really disguise himself, even. So I understand why he had to do it, but my whole point is they're whitewashing this. We gotta see. From what I'm learning, you gotta prove. These drawings don't do nothing to me anymore, because I've caught them so many times lying. I've caught them so many times showing us a white image of somebody who was of color and looked totally different. So who's this guy they painted here, or how did they?
And I heard about a story, and I was kind of shocked, because it's a very official radio in France, and it's called Culture Radio, and it's a culture radio, but it's a very official radio, very consensual. It's
so if
only
if
consensus.
If this was
consensus, but they mentioned the blackness of the man of the Iron Mask. There is a story that the king of France was very jealous of Nicolas Fouquet, who built a bigger castle in his district than the king. So the king, when he visited the castle of Nicolas Fouquet, was so jealous that he wanted to build Versailles to do better, So he inspired himself of the Chateau de la Loire, the castle of the La Loire in France, and especially the castle of Nicolas Fouquet to rebuild it better, and it is called now Versailles. And Versailles, this is the place of the king in Paris. And where they build Versailles is very famous. It's like the White House in United States. Like in France, Versailles is very, very famous. It's the garden of the king. So and the residence of the king and the garden of the king. So you can understand that. why
Okay.
it is very important.
Um, I
And
was I was
this particular guy, Nicolas Fouquet, was mentioned as a as dark complexion. And
okay.
when I heard that in that on the radio, cultural radio, as I was stomached. I was kind of shocked because I never heard about this before.
Yep. So if so, why do you think? All right. So a lot of these when there's so when history when they're saying French, this French guy came, a lot of the times it was a person of, like you're saying, of color, complexion, and we're always thinking like a white person because they just say French. We just hear French in our head. Um, but like this French guy, so if he was the first European that got out there, how would they have established themselves to be able to get millions of Africans, right? If they had never even had a colony established themselves yet until the 1800s. Can I mean, what is the local legend there? You've been to Senegal, right? Is that where you've been? And what other countries have you been?
Yes, I've been to Morocco
Uh-huh.
about eight times. I've
Okay.
been to Mauritania, across all Mauritania, three
Okay.
times, and I spent 10 years in
Okay.
Senegal, in Senegambia.
Okay. 10 years in Senegal and wow. And what is like? Do they have stories of millions of their tribal men, or hundreds or thousands of their tribal people being taken in ships?
None of them,
None of
not
them.
a single memory,
You guys heard that,
not
right?
a
None of
single
them.
memory, none of them. And as a people raised in Caribbean, I was raised in the story of slave trade. It's a part of my story as a French Caribbean. And then when I came to Senegal, I hoped that with the mythology of Gorée Island, that the people would remind it. But none of them. When I explained to people, why do you think there is so much black people in Americas? And for them, it's not an argument. They say, "Oh, they can be black, but not African." That's why they saying to me,
Mm-hmm.
for them, they have no memory of that. Because in Senegambia, it's represent only 5% of the African slave trade. So it's nothing. But when you go to Dahomey, when you go to Congo, Cameroon, you find the industrial captive uh, factory of captives. You know, because if I explain to you the process, how the economy of the Kanem, the Sudan, and the Songhai of Mali was the central economy of Africa. And when the shipping of the uh, Jew of Portugal and Spain and Holland went to India and brought many goods along the African coast, the kings along the coast, uh, they they had an alliance. They allianced
Mm-hmm.
they allianced themselves with the European. And
Uh-huh.
when I say European, I don't mean white.
Yep.
You know, when you
Yep.
say French at that time, there was
Yeah.
no difference
Yep.
between the French of dark complexion or white or
Exactly.
tawny, or they just say French.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very late in the history that you have it's appeared with the black code. Before the black code, you have not such a differentiation between the color of citizens. I mean, oh, so yes, you can. You can continue.
So I'm showing
I
people
will.
basically the this is a Washington Post report. I showed it in one of my videos. Gory Island, the door no return. It was supposedly one of the biggest, and most millions of Africans went through that door, and it turned out that it was never a slave port. It was a mansion.
False.
It was false. It had nothing to do. You know,
Totally false.
they still did.
I
They,
went two
yeah.
times on Gore Island. I visited all the island. I
So you've
even
been there. So
visited
you can
the
say it's
so-called,
false. You've been
yeah,
there.
I've
So
been there.
yeah. So
I
you're not in your
entered the
neighborhood in a.
so-called no return door. The
Okay.
so-called no return door. I enter it. I watch all and I study the book of Jean-Luc Engrand, who is from those family in Gore, and he explained
Yeah.
after being studying the certificate of birth, of death, of who owned this, who owned that on that island, who brought this, who brought that. And when you read the book, they said in a period of 150 years, there is only 1,500 slaves that transited to Gore Island, and it is not in the house that they show you, because that house, we know today that that house was owned by a woman called Anna Pépin Collin. And that woman never possesses slaves.
Yeah.
Never. She buy slave in order for sabotage. You know sabotage?
Mm-hmm. The
Sabotage.
word?
It's a good word
Yeah.
that you understand.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand what
Because
sabotage is. Yeah.
yes, they brought the slave and they fixed a higher price, so high price that no one could buy it. And those women, those wealthy women in Gore, they could not. They were a mix of Portuguese and the daughters of the Serer kings of the Saloum in Africa. So they were like mixed people, like descent from Jew, Portuguese Jew, and king of the Saloum in Senegal. So they were mixed people, but they were very wealthy. The Signar.
So we got no slave ships, right? We got no genealogy going back to Africa. We know that these places that were supposedly millions of people were leaving actually false. It wasn't real. We know we studied indentured servitude. We studied who was really coming over here, being persecuted, sent over here to the Americas, who was really being enslaved. You actually mentioned that to me about Angola. Right, we know that the Portuguese and Spaniards were enslaving many Indians. We know that they were in Brazil first for many years before they started colonizing Angola. This is from part 14 of my video, From Indigenous American to African American, the Transatlantic Slave Trade in Reverse. And I was reading from this book, Africans and Native Americans, from Jack Forbes. He did the whole research. He has great sources for what he's saying. Anybody can go verify. But he was letting us know in this part of the video, and you're gonna tell us a little bit about Angola too, about the Brazilians, what part they had to do in Angola. In this video, we were basically, he was letting us know that Angola was colonized by Brazilians. Now, what type of Brazilians? That's what we have to look at individually, case by case. A lot of them, yes, are Indian, mixed with Sephardic Jews and Moors, or just Indian, or just a straight up Sephardic Jew and Moor that was in Brazil. We know that they were there with the Dutch and all that. And they were getting kicked out. We got my video, Sephardic Jews, and we know the Huguenots, Protestants, and all these people were down there as well. So what's your take on Angola?
So Angola actually nowadays is a Portuguese speaking country, and Tomé and the islands which are
So Saint Tome, right? Saint
next to
Tome,
the next to
the
Angola.
island of
Yeah,
the
Saint
island of
Tome.
Saint
It's
Tome, where we read before, was one of the largest, and where they had started the sugar plantations, and many Sephardic
this
Jews,
place was a
Moors.
laboratory
Yep.
before to conquer the Indians of the America.
Okay.
You have all to know that
Mm-hmm.
those places was the laboratory before, because they built the first plantation and sugar cane on that place, you know, and they raised um, slave sons and daughters of captives born in the plantation, raised in the plantation, and they call those people creole. So
Creoles. Yep.
creole is a
Mm-hmm.
word. Yeah, it's a word to say that you were born and raised in a plantation.
Okay.
That's the meaning of creole.
Wow. Doesn't
So
matter if you were the owner,
whether
you
you
lived
are,
there, or the servant, right? It just you were associated.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, all right, yes,
Okay.
yes. If you were white or black, or if
Yeah.
you were born and raised in the plantation, you are Creole.
Yep.
So
So that makes sense.
I
That makes
would say
sense.
that Creole is a process. Yes, yes, it's a process of assimilation. It's a process of acculturation.
Mm-hmm.
But the laboratory was that they first um, made those plantations in accordance, and they agreed with the African king, the elites, and the elites saw that the European built uh, like a fortress, and when they saw that, the African king, they brought they bought bricks from England, and they built their own plantation in on the continent, on the coast,
Okay.
and they started to have their own slave. I can show you a place. Just Google Bimbia for me, please. Bimbia,
Yes.
Bimbea, and you will see the traces of an African
Okay.
master of plantation,
So
and
Bimbia
they
is a
needed slave.
Bimbia Island,
Bimbia is in Cameroon, and
Cameroon.
Bimbia
Okay.
is a 47 acres land
Uh-huh.
that are not all explored, but it was a plantation, and it is not possible in any way that the white people
Mm-hmm.
invested 47 acres on the continent. I don't mean in on an island next to the river, next to the shore,
Mm-hmm.
not an island next to the shore, on the continent. 47 acres without the authorization of the African king, without the authorization of the elites.
Okay.
It's not possible.
So you're saying that they had plantations there, but they weren't being
Yes,
managed by Europeans. These were their plantations. These were their
their
local
plantation, they
plantations. Yes.
needed slave for it.
They needed slaves. These Africans needed slaves, free labor. And so you're saying that
And
many of the
from that
American
place,
Indians, the Portuguese brought many American Indians over there. So that what you're saying? Sephardic Jews from the Catholic Empire that were being kicked out, and that's why many of these people are claiming the Jewish ancestry from the Sephardic Jews and the Moors that were coming from Spain and Portugal. Do you have stories of them?
yes, you see those ruins. This is
Yes.
the ruins of plantation. When you study that place, you see there is pipes, big pipes, industrial pipes to make
Mm-hmm.
a palm wine, and oil and all stuff like they do with all the big companies in
Yeah.
Africa now.
Yep.
You know, the big company
So
in Africa now, they are related with the elites of Africa,
yeah.
and the elites of Africa, they just eat the money of the people, and they don't share it with African, because they invest their own money in Western world. So the wealthy Africans of the elite, they don't invest the money
Yeah.
in Africa, they invest in Western world. So you don't see the fortune of the people in Africa, because all investment is in trust, anonymous trust. And when you check out the dates of the foundation of all companies of West Indies, the
Yeah.
shipping company of West Indies, when you check out all the dates, it just doesn't fit with the consensus story,
Okay.
because they told you that the first African was enslaved to America in the 15th century, 14th century, but it's not true,
Okay.
because at first African merchants invested their money, because I told you the first laboratory of plantation were in Africa before the
Yeah.
colonization of the
Yeah. So
Americans.
the first
So
the
the
first
merchant
plantation system, I know
who,
you showed me pictures of how they were treating their own people, how they were enslaving their own people, and they were whipping them, and they were doing this
I
kind of
have
you know,
I
this
have so
started in
much
Africa.
engravings.
This started in Africa before the Americas, before any of that concept or any of those ideas of whipping or anything like that. Plantation type slavery, overworking people. This was happening in Africa, right? In 1400s, even before the Europeans, way before. Is that correct?
It's is very correct, and you have to see a country that called the Benin. It's the ancient kingdom of Dahomey.
Yeah.
But the Benin, it was like the Cameroon and the Benin and Congo, was the major place of slavery, because there was many merchants from those countries who went to Brazil and
Mm-hmm.
Mexico. So at first, before to visit
The merchants.
Europe,
We know who the merchants were.
the African merchant, the African merchant went to the Americas. They saw slave. They ordered slave like a meal in the restaurant,
Okay.
and they shipped slave
And you talking about
from the
North
Americas to
Africans,
those
or who are
African
you?
plantations.
Okay.
Hmm?
When you're saying the
And
African
after
merchant,
that, when
who are you speaking about? Like North Africans, or who are you speaking about?
no, 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 no. I'm talking about African from Congo,
Uh
from
huh.
Cameroon,
Okay.
from I'm talking about the Bamileke, for example. If you want me to give you a lot of name of tribes, I can give you. And for
So,
example,
so
talking
when were they
about
coming? When
Cameroon
were they
and
coming?
Bimbia with
So,
the
so
Bamileke,
who were they coming with?
they were
Because
coming at the with the Portuguese,
the Portuguese.
the
Okay.
people from the Holland and Spain and Italians,
Okay. Okay.
and
So they were
after
coming with
that the
the
French and the
Sephardic.
British.
They were
But the
coming with the
French,
Sephardic
yes.
Jews and the Muslim Moors that were being expelled from
At
Iberia.
first with Portuguese and yes,
Yes, because
and
we know the Portuguese.
you know
That's a
the
tag during
Treaty
that
of
time.
Tordesillas.
Yeah.
You know the Treaty of Tordesillas.
Pordesias?
Tordesillas.
No, I don't.
You should do a research on it, and you will find out that this treaty is to to uh, to negotiate a limit where Spanish can colonize the zones, the areas that Spanish can colonize in America, and to determine what is the limit that the Portuguese are allowed to colonize. So when they heard about and you know that Christopher Columbus is not the first to arrived in the Americas, but because we know that the Portuguese arrived in Brazil before the Spanish. It's well known, and but the Treaty of Tordesillas.
Well, we know that's a future video. We know the Portuguese.
One of yes.
The Portuguese were actually, especially like people like Columbus and Vespucci, then they had access to what the Portuguese, the navigations they were taking, and they had already reached South America. You're right, and that's a future video. We're gonna talk about what's his name, Salvador Fernandez Arco soon. Don't worry.
But what it's important to understand that the African merchant from Congo and Cameroon and Benin, when they arrived in Brazil and Mexico with the Portuguese and the Spanish and the Italians, and after that the French and the British, but at first with the Portuguese and Spanish. And when they, and after that also the Jew of Holland. And the Jew of Holland, they conquered Suriname, near to the Guyanas, and they were kicked out from Brazil by the Portuguese. And the Jew of Holland needed to exile themselves in the Caribbean. So in Guadeloupe and Martinique, we welcome those Jews from Holland, who were kicked out from Brazil to the Caribbean, because they knew the secret to purify the sugar, because at first we did not know how to make the sugar pure, to transform it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like we recently went over all this information, a lot of the parts of nations of the world, where we know that the people who really first started the sugar refineries and all that were Sephardic Jews. They were the merchants. Now, when you're saying African, I agree, maybe there was Africans in it, but this was all started and being funded. The chips and all these networks was with the Sephardic Jews of Spain. They were doing the sugar in the Madeiras in San Tomas. They were being sent there to work, and they were, because of their skills and knowledge, they were sent to Brazil. The Portuguese allowed them to live as free, crypto, Muslims and Jews. And when you're saying that then the French came, then the Dutch came, we know these are tags. We know a lot of these people are the same people. A lot of these people were the French Huguenots, were the same as Sephardic Jews and Moors. A lot of the Dutch were the Sephardic Jews. We know that there was just a lot of tags going on, and it was more about people with their religious views and all that. So which I'm trying to get grasp what you're saying.
You can find that Antonio the First of Congo, the guy that you put on your miniature, on your the first image of your video.
But that's what I'm saying. That's images. And I we had this
yes.
Yeah, this one right here, right?
Yes.
So I've seen what they've said of him. I've seen that a lot of these French, European people, they're saying they're Congo ambassadors, and I haven't seen the proof of that. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. This could be a straight up Portuguese.
Yes, but I think that for this particular case of Antonio Manuel Mvunda, this particular particular part, I think that is really a Congo, but it's not a
So
generality.
why is his name Antonio Manuel?
Because I told you, when you study the Congo story, the first king in Africa who convert to Catholicism is Alfonso I. Alfonso the first is a converted uh, name, because we know his name in Kikongo, but it was the Mani Congo, a powerful king in Congo, and he imposed this religion, and he built churches in Congo. You can see churches from the 15th century,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the first. And nowadays, Congo is 80 million of people, and there is only 1% of Muslim. So that means that Congo is one of the most Catholic and almost Christian country in the world.
So why? But why? Okay,
And
so now that leads me
and it is
to want to study the Congo people themselves. So why are they so Catholic?
I don't know, because
Why-
nowadays the Congo people said that they are the Bena Israel for real.
Okay,
There is
that's
a
what I'm.
lot of
Okay,
sect in Congo that say we are not African, we are Hebrew Israelites, we are not from here. And I
okay.
can
So
share
even
with you many
Africans.
links.
Okay,
The
okay. Well, that's I
preachers say
believe you.
that all the
I
time.
believe you. So many. So there's many Africans saying they ain't Africans themselves, even in Africa, and so they're trying to label people in a whole
You know
different
why?
continent
Because
African.
Bonampak. Everyone know Bonampak. Everyone know Bonampak. But in Africa, when I shared the information of the mural of Bonampak, a Congo girl just left a message in comment and say, when you say Bonampak, it's remind me in my language, the Kikongo, that Benampaka, that's mean the sons of the uncle. Sons of the uncle. So Bonampak, when I said that to a Congo, he heard Benampaka, the sons of the uncle. And I noticed after that the nobility, the royalty of Congo, they wear leopard leopard skins, fur, and jaguar skin. For Bonampak people, it's for the nobility, and it's the very same. If you compare the leopard and the jaguar, it's yellow with with the black.
Okay, so we know
And
maize is from America, right? We know
it's the
maize is
same
from America.
meaning.
We know Maya, the Maya and their whole history and mythology. We know the ancient mound peoples and their history, and we know about the origins of a lot of these people in America, and they're dating themselves to there. They're not saying they came in from Africa or anything like that. So I see a reverse, like in the title of this video, a history in reverse. And when we talk about the homie, I got a future video how they relate to the Carib language, the homie, and to the Tupi and the South American tribes. And that's a whole big research. Shout out to Kiowa for doing that. He's been linking that up, a lot of these African dialects with the South American languages. And on the cover of this video, you had the bush. You wanted me to put the bush Negroes of South America. They have a specific name. Do you remember the name of them? It starts with an S.
Bushinenge. I'm about to write it down in the chat so everyone could check it. Bushinenge. Bushinenge.
Okay.
And also the Boni people. and also the Juka people, and also the
Yucca, I think that's
Saramaka,
how do you spell Salamanca.
Saramaka
That's
people.
the guy.
All
That's the guy. It's in the cover. Salamanca. Salamanca, right?
Saramaka, pas Salamanca.
Saramaka.
Saramaka,
Yeah,
it's yes,
Saramaka.
yeah, Saramaka.
So they try to call them.
It's
They try to call them maroons and all that. You know, they try to say these are shipwrecked Africans. That's the story behind these people in South America. Now,
it's
there's
totally
something that,
false.
yeah, something we're gonna really study and investigate. I know South America was had its own, what you would call so-called Negro Bushmen, and then the jungles of the Amazon. I know this for a fact. Um, so it's Maroons people. So they'd explained them as Maroons people, formerly called Bush Negroes in the Republic of Suriname, and one of the Maroon peoples in French Guiana. So that's the story they tell us, Maroons. So what's a Maroon? A Maroon's a runaway, right? The word Maroon. So this is a picture.
And you know, this is something weird because the name of the king of Congo, it's an in American Indian name. You know, that the great spirit, we say Gichi Manitou. It's mean the great
Manito.
spirit.
Yeah, Manito.
And yes. And when you say the title of the royalty of the king of Congo, you say Mani Congo. Mani is the very same root that Manitou, because Manitou is a word that expresses the notion of the ruler of the universe. And the king of Congo is a ruler too. So that's why I made a relation between the two, the etymology of the two words, Manitou and Mani Congo, because the Mani Congo is the king of Congo, the ruler of Congo. You see my point?
Yeah. Yeah, I see many relations. That's what I'm saying, but I see it in reverse. I don't see it like, especially when they're talking about they're not from that same area either. They're stories, they're local stories as well. You know, they're telling they came in from somewhere else. And
there is not such a divinity or a god called Manitou in Africa. There is not such a tradition. So you won't find anywhere in Africa a god of a divinity of an entity called Manitou. There is not. So it is only in America that you will find this tradition of Gichi Manitou.
Okay, so yeah, you know, we were seeing. We know that they were bringing Indians over to Angola. So it says here, after 1650, Angola was virtually a colony of Brazil, and we can be sure that many persons of American ancestry went there. In addition to the normal kinds of contact, Angola was used as a place for sending Americans and other persons who proved troublesome in Brazil. In Caeira, for example, mixed blood and American undesirables were periodically rounded up and shipped off to Angola. After about 1740, the island of Fernão de Noronha was also used as dumping ground for such people. In the south of Brazil, Americans and other non-whites were deported to Angola for gold smuggling or for using a route of passing through a region exposed to attack by free American forces. And let's continue. It says, quite early, Americans were used in the settlement of Fernão de Noronha Island. In 1602, Portuguese man was residing on the island with 13 or 14 Negroes. In 1612, a French vessel found only Portuguese with a few tapuyas of both sexes. So a tapuya is a Brazilian tribe. The French removed the Americans to Maranhão. The Portuguese generally referred to Tupi-speaking Americans of coastal Brazil as Brasis or Brazilians, while the non-Tupi nations were often referred to collectively as Tapuyas. So this is what I was saying, the Tupi-speaking people. All right, and you can see many of their dialects in African tribes and other parts of the world too. Many American slaves were resold from Portugal to other countries, and this trade continued for at least a century. In 1592, for example, a widower of Lisbon sold Beatriz, aged 12, originally from Pernambuco, Brazil, to the Canary Islands. Many Americans were sold as slaves in Spain, as revealed by the notarial records of Seville and Valencia. It is not possible to be certain as to the numbers involved, since not all the slaves seem to have been properly registered, and also baptismal records are relatively scant. Moreover, many slaves are reclassified only as to their color. All right, so they start becoming just Negro.
You know something? It's very weird in history. The Arabic source in Al-Umari. Al-Umari is someone who wrote chronicles under the Sultanate of Egypt when Kanga Mamsa Musa went from Timbuktu, from Gao, from Mali to Makkah, and he transited in Cairo, and in Cairo his story was written by Al-Umari. So I read this story in Arabic, and they were asking themselves where this king Kanga Mamsa Musa from Mali got all his gold, because he had 200 slaves on the road who were wearing golds in dust, like not gold in brick but in dust. And when he spent all his he wanted to purchase some goods in the market of Cairo, and he spent so much gold that he decreased the economy of the money for 10 years. So it made 10 years to recover the crisis, because he spent so much gold in the market that it devaluated the money of the country. And the chronicler, the Al-Umari, just asked himself, where did this king got all his gold? And we know that Abu Bakari II moved to Pernambuco at first with 200 ships, and only one ship returned, and after that they got back to the Americas with 2,000 ships, and then they never got back in Africa after that. That's why Kanga Mamsa Musa became the king, because his brother went to the Americas in Pernambuco. And there is something very
what years was this
important that we have
to
notice. It's 1311, 1312.
So 1300s, you're saying 2,000 ships went to Brazil and stayed behind.
2,200, because the first voyage was 200 ships, and the second voyage was 2,000, and they never came back to Africa. But they
so 2,000
in Pernambuco, and Pernambuco is the same etymology of a mine gold that you can find between Mali and Senegal, that called Bourbambouk. And some people say that Bourbambouk, it's a name that it is related of the etymology of Pernambuco, but they said that the Indian languages
So what if now
transform
you're
the
saying
word Burbambuk,
so
but
I know that people want I've heard the story, right? You know, so we got 2,000 ships, right? You're saying 2,000 ships, so that's a lot of people. How many people in each ship? You know, so that's a lot of people being left behind. So where's all the trace of all these people in South America? Now, what if they actually were Americans and they went to Africa and went back home?
it's very, very possible.
It's because like you gotta like so you're because by the time Columbus and the Europeans come, so who's to say who's who then? Like if there's so many people left behind, and
It reminds me the story of Ophir, the city of Ophir. And can you Google for me just one thing? You write Great Zimbabwe. This is a construction, a castle in the middle of nowhere, and
yeah,
no one knows who
yeah,
built it. No one knows. Some people say that it was the Shona. Some people say that it was the ancient Hebrew
yeah.
who escaped and flee to down South Africa. And some Zulu tribes claim that they are not African, and they are from Middle East, or not especially Middle East,
All
but
right.
not from Africa.
So would you
They
call would you call this a
they
castle, or
arrived
what would you call this?
Great Zimbabwe.
Yeah,
So
we
Z
have it on. Yeah, we
I
have it on the screen.
M.
Yeah, refresh your page. Sometimes it lags.
Okay.
So it's like a fort. It's like a fort, a little settlement. It's like a big fort, basically. A citadel, it looks like. Looks like some
And some people say that from the
ancient.
port of Sofala,
Uh-huh.
that is on the coast of Tanzania, Hindu people, Arabic people, Indonesian people, and even after that, the European people came in the port of Sofala, and the port of Sofala was the entry to the road to go towards this great castle.
Mm-hmm.
But the first explorers, the first European explorers in the 19th century, when they found out this castle, uh, they say that it was not the people, the inhabitant
Yeah.
of the area who built it.
So who's the ancient
And
architects?
no, yes, it's the Tupi number.
Yeah.
The Tupi
So
number, I have a record of Brown University in a conference with documentation. There is a scholar woman. She explained us that the Tupi number went in Congo as a stone maker, brick makers
who
made
did
from stones.
the Tupi?
They needed the two, well, yes, they needed Tupi numbers. They shipped Tupi numbers to Congo in order to make brick stones, because they were known as good brick stone makers.
Yep.
This is you can check. It's on Brown University
So
channel
there's you
YouTube.
mean
There is
Tupi tribal people
a
from Brazil.
conference, and it's
Is
documented.
so Tupi
From
tribal people
Brazil,
from
they
Brazil.
were shipped.
Okay. They were shipped to the Congo to
Yes,
help build. They were the architects.
yes, yes.
Okay.
But I want to say that the Tupi number people went to Congo before they were shipped,
Yeah. Yeah. I
because the
definitely
documentation. Uh, yes, said that it was during the slave trade. Uh, uh, but I think that it happened before because we have many clues
Hmm.
that there were pre-Columbian contact. And I suppose that
Okay, so
Congo
Kyo was
is
knows
a
what you're saying.
colony
So
of Negroes from the Americas.
yeah, so Kiowa, he's saying that he knows the story that the Tupinamba were brought to Congo to build the forts and that they ended up running away. But he's saying that they were there before the Europeans. That's just the story they made up. The Tupi were already there. We know based on the language, studying the language and the dialects of these people, they had their language before Europeans got there, and their language is very similar to the Tupi. We know dialects, so we've studied that, so it makes sense. But that just correlates with all the studies we've been doing, because we know when we're talking about true old world, when we're talking about ancient people, ancient lands and stuff, we know there was ancient civilizations here. Somebody mentioned When Rocks Cry Out by Horace. We call him Horace Butthurt over here. He tried to take my channel down, mine and Drops, and he tried to take down my City of David video because he didn't like that we were debunking the Pan-African part. But I don't know why his reasoning was, but yeah, it's some great books there showing, proving this is the true old world over here. We know maize. If you trace maize, we know that West African people had maize. We know it came from both sides of Africa. It came from the other side too. The Asians were bringing in maize. Different types of maize were going into Africa from both sides, and Middle East as well. From the top from Europe, they were calling Turkish wheat. The Muslims and Arabs were bringing that as well. So we know when we talk about true world and people migrations, we try to correlate with all the information. So yeah, people can say, well, out of Africa, out of this and that, and but you got to show me all the correlation, everything. And we've just studied so much. If you've gone over a lot of good information with us today, I appreciate all the information you can you've had. You've had private conversations with me, and we've talked a lot more about this stuff. But yeah, your research, from what correlates, from your travels and everything. It's not just from what you research. You've been to these places, so it's not like somebody that says, well, you've never been to Africa and all that. Well, you've been there, and you've talked to the people, you've seen the history, you've seen
Actually,
it.
I
So
speak fluently a language of Africa,
uh-huh.
which is spoken in Mauritania, in Mali, in Guinea, and Gambia, and Senegal. And this particular language is called the Wolof language. I am fluent in Wolof.
Mm-hmm.
I speak better Wolof than I speak
Okay.
English.
Okay. So yeah, you that's what I'm saying. So a lot of people can, just question with the information. I know you're not just making it up. It's but from your experience and what you've learned, and a lot of it correlates with what we're
My
studying.
mother tongue is Creole. My mother tongue is Creole. And when I studied my mother tongue, I found out there is thousands, more than 3,500 words in different origin of American Indian languages:
Okay.
Tupinamba,
Yeah.
Nahuatl, Arawak, Caraib,
Okay.
etc.,
Wow.
Tainos, and I can just make
So
an whole video with etymology of Aboriginal American tongues in Creole.
okay, well, maybe one day we can do that again on another episode of Kurimeo Meditations, and we can just definitely have you on. And you're saying the Creole language, you've seen that it has your French Creole language, right? You have the Tupi Namba,
Yes,
you have
French Creole
Arawakan,
language.
you have Taino in it, and you most likely have some Ladino
And Nahuatl.
The French element. What do you think the French element is?
Alors, so I would say the French element is not real French because the people at that time
Hmm.
they did not speak French. I
Okay.
wanted to say earlier that French had been the official language and imposed on all the territory of what is called now French people, France, because at that time each region of French had its own language. There were more than 50 different language in France before Napoleon. But after the Second Revolution, because all people know the first revolution, so-called French Revolution in 1789, but the records said that the real revolution of the people with the group called the communards, uh, it's it's the real revolution in 1848. 1848. This is the real revolution. And
Mm-hmm.
in 1850, they declared officially that French from Paris is the French for all. And they erased all the patois, all the tongues,
Yeah.
the mother tongues of the.
Yeah.
And nowadays there is only a few bunch of people in each region who still speaks the original language. But when you go to Little Brittany, American people still speak American.
Uh-huh.
And when you go to Marseille, a lot of people speaks provincial. A lot of people in Toulouse, in in Montpellier, they speak Occitan. And when you go to Perpignan, people speak Catalan. When you go to Alsace-Lorraine, people speak a dialect close to German, and so on and so on. So when you go each region, they have their own language until nowadays, and that's why you have so much different accent in French in France. And you have to know that Creole
So
was spoke
yeah. So
before
that.
French, and
Okay.
centuries before French
Yeah.
was official language of France. Creole was spoke in the Americas by millions of people
Mm-hmm.
before the language of France was officially declared as official.
Okay. So yeah, I got a future
So in
video on
Creole
this. And
you find words from the ancient people who came here, and they did not speak French. They spoke various different patois, and
mm-hmm.
you have in Creole many etymology from those different French patois, you know, and those French patois are the roots of the French of nowadays. So you can find the roots of the French, the modern French, in the ancient uh, Occitan, for example, or Catalan, or Languedoc. It's or That's why in French you have German words, you have Latin words, you have um, uh, Aboriginal American words. You have thousands and thousands of words in French that are not French, that are actually uh, 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 Aboriginal American language. For example, how do you say peanuts in French? We say the very same word of the Nahuatl. We say cacahuete. And the words in Nahuatl is tlal cacahuatl. And in French, we say cacahuete. It's the very same word. So when you talk to a French people and you want to cook or offer him some peanuts, you say you want some cacahuete. And it's a Nahuatl word, and hamac. I don't know how to say hamac in English. I'm going to check on Google. But hamac, it's an Arawak name. It's a kind of bed that you tie the two parts on trees, and there is um, like a sheet that you lay on, and it's hamac. I don't know how to say it in English. I'm going to check.
So I got what I'm
Hamac.
showing everybody on the screen is this is from very
Ah, yes,
scholarly
in English it
source.
says the same.
And this says, if
Hamac.
anybody doesn't know, Armorican, it's a Celtic dialect called also Breton. So the ancient Britons, the ancient Celts, the ancient Gauls spoke this Armorican language. It was the national language of the independent Duchy of Brittany and is still spoken in modern French departments of Finisterre, Morbihan, and Côtes du Nord. The language is closely allied to the Welsh, Cornish, Manx, and Gaelic. All right, so let me just quick share another one. And I have here, it says Celtic, same as Celtic, a division of the Aryan family of languages represented by Armorican, Gaelic, Irish, and Manx, the now extinct Cornish and Welsh. All right, so this is a future video, a little spoiler here, but, just take the R. Again, let me go back. Take the R, the first R off. What do you have? Armorican, right? American, Armorican, Amaric. And you were mentioning about that, the Amharic people, America, American, Amaru, the American. So you're saying patois. You said it earlier, patois. So what is Gaelic and it has to do with the patois and the Jamaican speaking what they call it creole English or broken English? Are they really speaking the ancient Armorican? Part of the ancient Armorican, and that's a future video.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
What you are
that's what I wanted
saying
to
now.
explain. Yeah, I wanted to go ahead and explain to people exactly what you're saying, and it tells you right here, French department. So I believe, like you were saying, the Creole, the French Creole, contained a Moricon. I had the Tupi, I had the Arawak. You said Taino, yeah, Taino.
Yes. We
Okay.
in Creole we have words like wasu, tululu, kui. Kui it's calbas. You know calbas, calabasa.
Mm,
I have to find out those words in English. But in the chat, I wrote a word, Arawak word, amak.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And can you check it? Can
Hamaka.
you check the
That's
definition?
the hamaka sounds
Amak.
like the hammock. Yeah, hamaka.
Yeah, the hammock.
Yeah.
But the pronunciation we say in Arawak in Arawak we say amak,
Mm-hmm.
amak.
We say in Spanish una maca, maca.
Ah, yes.
Yeah,
I don't. I think in English it's the same. Hamak.
hammock. Yeah,
And yes, it's an Arawak word. And
yeah,
in French, we have no other words to say this. To design this object, we have to use this word because it's in the dictionary. And for
yeah,
example, the people of Normandy, they had an alliance with the Tupinamba people against the British.
tupi. Okay,
So they brought a vegetable from Brazil in Normandy, and they gave it a name in French, and the name in French is topinambour. I will write it
okay,
down in the chat. Yes, all right. And this vegetable, when you look at the etymology in dictionary, it is said that it's from the tribe name of Tupinamba. So they
okay.
franchise the word tupinamba, and they named this vegetable from Brazil topinambu. And at
Okay.
first, when I discovered that, I was like shocked, because for me it was like a traditional vegetable of France. And there is a typical meal in France that we call le hachis parmentier,
Okay.
and it is made with potatoes. And in French, to say potatoes, we say patate,
Okay.
and in Espanol, we say patata,
Okay. Yep.
and
We say papa.
in Indian, y- you say, how do you say in Spanish?
We just say papa or papas.
Okay, okay, okay. Uh, but in French we say patate, but
Hmm?
the Indian name is batata.
Okay. Batata. Yeah.
Batata.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
So the Spanish took
it's
the
a
name, and the French.
this is a plant. This is a vegetable. I'm sorry, a root that originated in the Andes, in South America, and mostly in that region. That's what's most potatoes have. They've been they studied that it originated in. So another American plant is distributed all over the world. It's not an Irish thing. It's not, But why did the Irish have potatoes? Patatas.
And in France, we have a tree that gave kind of fruit called la châtaigne. And
Okay.
before to know the word marron, that means brown in French,
Yeah.
and in Spanish, at first they arrived in Hispaniola, but it was not Hispaniola. And they asked the people who were they, and they say simarron, and they heard in their language, the Spanish. They just translated in Spanish simarron, cimarrones. And the French, they took the word on the Spanish, and they transform it in French to say marron. Maroon is the very same etymology, the same roots of simarron. But in French, we just don't say the C, we just say marron. And when I check out in dictionaries, I discovered that this word entered the dictionary of the French language in the 18th century. That means that before the 18th century, the word marron did not exist in French. And to use uh, another word, we add a word, like I said earlier, la châtaigne. Because la châtaigne, it's a kind of fruit that we eat in winter in France, but it's the same color. It's brown. It's the same color of that we use today, um, the word marron. But before to say marron, we say couleur châtaigne, color of châtaigne, or color or vermeil, couleur vermeil, color vermejo, como like we said in and Simaran, they interpreted. There is a many definition. There is a definition. They say that it is like a domestic pig that returns to savage life, and so So it's at first it's been said that it's a domesticated pig, but that pig returns to natural environment, and he became back at the state of sauvage state, as they say. So that definition was transferred onto the escaped slave. Like they said, they were hiding in the mountains, and they said also that simarron could mean the people who stay up the mountains, who hide, who run up the mountains. And when you go further, and you find out that this is not the only definition. This is the definition that they want you to know. But when you go deeper, you see that Simarron is the very same roots with Seminole. And when I studied the roots, the etymology of Seminole, I saw that it was a Indian language. You pronounce Simalonihili, and it means the people who runs as fast as owls. People who run fast like arrows. So you have the notion, you have the concept of going fast ahead to escape very fast, to yes, uh, to have the capacity of escaping, of uh, go ahead fast like a arrow. So you can also relate this notion with the imaginary that we all have about Indians, because when you talk about Indians, you talk about arrows too, because they hunt.
Yeah. So you know,
And
the word sounds like it's an American word, and that's why the French didn't have it. Now you're saying as fast as an arrow. People who are fugitive, people who are running away, are moving fast always. So I can see why it would be related to a fugitive or somebody who's running away, because he's fast like an arrow. He's cimarron, you know. And then cima, as it says here, like you're saying, top. Cima means the top. That's in Spanish. It means the top. So it's people who run fast to the top,
and
right? Or
I'm going
living
deeper.
wild in the mountains. So what I'm trying to say here is this doesn't tell me genealogy. Anybody can run fast and go to the mountains. It could be an Indian, it could be a Sephardic Jew, it could be a Moor, it can be anybody, a Black Irish, it can be anybody. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody. It doesn't you can't generalize with this word meaning a specific person. And that's all I want to say with this. And
And yes,
yeah,
I
because a
want.
lot of the reality is that a lot of the Black Europeans that were coming to work in the plantations and the sugar fields, they were running away too with the Indians. So it's not just Indians that they were labeling maroons.
I found out in the documentation that there were, how do you say, endangered white, I don't know if they were white, but endangered people, because people think that there were only people from Europe who were engaged under contract, but there were people
Yeah,
from Africa too,
yeah,
and especially Congo, because they had skills for agricultures. And
Well, well, that's what I'm saying. Like based on the genealogy that we've been doing, I haven't run into anybody who's descendant came from Congo, Morocco. Maybe it does exist in somebody's genealogy, but so far I've seen indentured servants Huguenots, indentured servants Black Irish, English, and I did one the other day or yesterday or today, and they were an indentured servant and they were sent to a plantation, and we found the plantation name. That was today actually, and we found the plantation name in Maryland, and it doesn't list anything about slaves or anything. Like when you really go get specific, you know, when you do so in general, I don't see like if there was Africans coming, it's not a majority. It's not a majority at all so far.
and we know that Seminole come from the word Simalonihili, that means uh, go as fast as a arrow. But we know that the Creek nation splitted, and that's why a lot of tribes runs into uh, uh, Florida. And when I was in the archive and the libraries of South Beach and Miami-Dade County, I found out in the books that it's only since 1930 that they dried the land. They dried the land of Florida by a process to dry the land because it was all a mangrove. How do you say mangrove? Like how it was not a place that
Everything was overgrown, maybe a
well,
lot of it.
yes,
Okay.
yes, mangrove.
Okay.
Just wait a few seconds. Yes, in English we say the same. It's mangrove. So maybe you have to check Mangrove. It's English is the same. Maybe I don't pronounce the word correctly. It's mangrove.
Okay.
And 70% of the territory of Florida was a mangrove. A mangrove. So it was the best field to escape because when you go in deep into that mangrove, nobody, even an army, can get you.
Okay.
And the Seminole is not a tribe; it's a term to designate all the tribes that uh, run like a arrow, the splitted the of the Creek Nation, and the split of the Creek Nation. It's another story, but they started to have prisoners and sell the prisoners to some of the colonizers. And in the documentation, we saw that about 2 million people from South Carolina, Indians from South Carolina, in Charlestown, were sent to the Caribbeans, the islands of the Caribbeans, like Barbados, etc. And we have letters from Barbados, from the governor of Barbados, who wrote to Charleston in USA, and he is asking to the captive sellers over there not to brought other Indians in the island because they always organize rebellion. So they don't want them no more. They prefer African because they don't do this. And there is a letter from the governor of Barbados. I I I can find the source. But if you do your own research, the governor of Barbados wrote to Charleston in order to stop to send Indians to Barbados because they organize rebellion all the time.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
don't
Barbados
want.
is one of those biggest spots for they were dumping a lot of the Indians they were deeming wild and that were very hard to negotiate with or move out of the lands, right? Because they were fighting back. They were fighting back. So yeah, Barbados was a spot. We did a little thing about the so-called first so-called Negro that they brought to Barbados. They were actually coming from South America, and they brought them so they can help them dive and work the fields there. And so they even admitted that the first two so-called Negroes and that one of them was an Indian, the other one was just a Negro. They called them. They don't know. They're not saying what genealogy, what country, what tribe. They're just saying a Negro and an Indian, and, and and they came from South America. They were coming from Africa. So we've done a lot of on that, and we know a lot of the Pequots and a lot of the New England tribes, northeastern tribes got sent down there. Indians from South Carolina, Virginia, the Carolinas, a lot of them got sent down there to Barbados. So yes,
And there is uh, a, a scene in the film Amistad that we can debunk. If you noticed in that film Amistad, there is a scene where when they arrive in the great islands of the Caribbean, like Cuba,
mm-hmm.
they had to transfer their captive from one boat to another boat. And when they transferred those so-called African Negroes, they renamed all those captives one by one in a book. And in the film, they say, we have to pretend that those Negroes are Creole Negroes because the English in 1807, they abolished the trade slave, but
Okay,
not the slavery, because the slavery it's decades later, but the slave trade, I mean the shipping, and some people they just confused with that. The abolition of the slave trade and the abolition of the slavery, it's not the same, and some people sometimes are confused about that, and
okay,
it's not to be confused because in 1807 they abolished the slave trades, and in 1848 in
mm-hmm.
France they abolished
Yeah,
slavery, and for the English is 1838,
okay,
and decades later for the United States, and decades later for Brazil. And but when you notice that, that meant that if it was allowed to sell Creole Negro slave, but it was not allowed by the law to sell African after after 1807. Do you know that?
Mm.
After 1807, it was forbidden to ship
Mm-hmm.
African captives in the Americas.
Okay.
It was forbidden, and if you were caught, you will have to go to court or to jail or pay and they seize your boat and your and all your stuff. You know, it
Yep.
was a crime by the law. You have after 1807. So when you notice that the time of the film Amistad, it is after 1807. So it was not allowed by the law to ship African captives to the Americas to be sold as slave. But the slavery was not yet abolished. So it was allowed to have slave, to sold slave, but not to take them in Africa. So where was the Negroes to be
Mm.
sold at that time
Mm.
if
Yeah.
it was not allowed to sold Africans from from Africa after 1807? Huh?
Yeah.
So
I
when
see what you're
you
saying.
think about that, there was a silent slave trade, untold, in
Mm-hmm.
the Americas between Amazonia, the Saramaka, the Njuka, the Boni, and the Bushinenge and other tribes that are Negro Indians of Amazonia from
Okay.
the valley of the Orinoco, the, the original Indians, Aboriginal. So uh, the real Maya, I mean,
Yeah.
and and those people some people think that they are African because they look like Congo people.
Yeah.
But maybe it's the Congo people who look like those people,
Yeah.
because when you
Exactly.
think about the silent slave trend after
Yep.
1807, it doesn't mean that it did not started that way before 1907, but they just continued to do that after that particular date because it was not longer allowed to ship captives from Africa. It's something to meditate.
Yep. And even
Where
then,
were
even with that story, you got to check the story. So yeah, it's all this is what you're saying. Definitely something to think about and try to put your logic behind it. You know.
the
So,
logic is that they were still boats were shipping Indians Negro from Amazonia, from Central America, Belize, Honduras, etc.,
yep.
and the United States, uh, uh, like a cycle in the Caribbean
Yep.
and Brazil,
Yep.
and those Negroes were called African, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, after that they told us that it was not allowed, so it was only allowed to sell Creole Negro.
Hmm.
And Creole Negro is American Indian. Creole, it's a word of assimilation, of acculturation, because it means that you were born and raised in a plantation.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean that you are not an Indian. They just want to
There you go.
creolize you.
There you go. So it's not always just Indian. That's what I'm saying. You know, and a lot of people were sent to plantations, not just Indians. Like I was saying today, earlier today, there was a person, I believe he was a Huguenot, he was sent to a plantation. And we had the records and everything. And even say he was indentured 7 years. He had to work in this person's plantation to pay his passage over to America. You know, so that's what I'm saying. So I mean, I'm glad you broke that down. And you know, it's been it's been great having you on, brother. Like we're probably gonna do this again another time. I have to kind of actually go, but I enjoyed, you know, all the information, and I hope everybody enjoyed the information that you brought to us, and all the correlation and things that we didn't know, so we can put the dots together, connect the dots, you know. So, you know, anything you want to say before you leave? Anything else, you know, you want to tell us before you go today, Jissa?
I think it was great, and it's enough because there is so much things to
Yeah,
say.
so much.
I
Yeah.
just want to conclude with the image that you are showing now.
Mm-hmm.
On the right, we supposed to have a guy called Antonio the First of Congo, but
Okay.
for me, that guy is not a Congo. He maybe became the king of Congo, but he's not. He's from Brazil.
Oh, okay.
And
So that's a Brazilian right there. So the
yes,
way you okay. So let me just zoom in.
yes. But like in Dahomey, that it's a historical fact, uh, no, very well known, that there is a Brazilo-African. They say that it was mixed between Brazil and Dahomey and Benin, and he was supposedly a slave in Brazil, and and when he was freed, he started a business of slave, and
Mm-hmm.
he make money until he came to Benin, and he was supported by the European, financed by the uh, Jew of Holland, and they paid uh, uh, to have an army, and um, he kicked out the king of Benin, and he took his place. And
Okay.
it is very well documented, but it is in French,
Well,
so I have
honestly,
to
he
translate
he
it.
looks like the Portuguese navigators, and I know that the Sephardic Jews and all these people were in Brazil. I know that a lot of them did mix in with Indians. A lot of the Indians did come over. We read earlier that the Brazilians were colonizing Angola, so it's not something that, you know.
And the guy on the left, if
Saramaka.
yes, it's a Saramaka, but it's a Indian Negro of Amazonia.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you look at those two pictures, some people would prefer to say that it's the guy on the left that is it's a Congo, and the other one
Mm-hmm.
that maybe is Brazilian. But
Yeah.
the guy on the left is definitely a Negro Indian, Aboriginal American,
From the true old world,
not the
right?
Congo.
Yeah. From Mount Roraima coming out. That's, you know, that the Amazon. There's still a lot of mysteries to be found there. There's a lot of history in the Amazon, and I do believe it. You know, I know it. You know, and we see it in the languages, and we see the spreading. We see these architects, as we were talking about, these people, these bringing their knowledge of building, their knowledge of agriculture, the maize and all the cassavas and all the potatoes, bananas, plantains, sugar, all that from the Americas, So,
Yes, in
uh, go ahead.
conclusion, I would just say, in conclusion, I would say when I was in Africa, all the things that we were eating as food every meal, most of the ingredients are from America.
Mm.
Tomat, tomate,
Yeah,
uh, tomatla.
yeah.
In Nahuatl, we say tomatla. And in French, we took the Indian name and we say tomate, and we say tomato in English, but it's an Indian name. And there is a lot of word in English that you will be stupefied when I will explain to you that it's an Indian name and not English.
Yeah, I mean, definitely believe
You know,
that.
the peanuts, the peanuts, there is a typical African meal that we call the mafe sauce, and it's a sauce made with peanut, uh, and they make a sauce and chicken or fish and rice, and but it's not African. And if before, when I asked the 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 elders in Africa what they were eating before colonization, they told me that they were eating meal, and it's a kind of it's a plant in Africa. You can, but it's not rice. There were rice, but it's the. I wanted to say that most of that the people eat over there, like manioc, cassava, it's not from Africa, and they said that it's traditional for them, and it's not African. So think about that.
Hmm. I know that we've gone over in my corn videos that in Africa, uh, out of the 640 crops they have, 600 of them originate in America. All right, so just that alone, and I got a future video on this as well. I've been trying to, this is something I had a plan for long ago. I just haven't done it, been researching other things, but I'm gonna show you guys all the fruits and vegetables that are from America that are used in Africa. And you tell me which one's a true terrestrial paradise, a place of abundance, a paradise, like for real, like in part two of Untold Ancient American Truth, we saw when they got here, the Spanish and Portuguese and all these other auxiliaries, as because we know they brought African auxiliaries. We read that too in my Columbus as Negro Friends video. They were bringing African auxiliaries, and that's probably what Yissa is letting us know about the Congolese ambassadors and all these people that were helping and coming and enslaved people as well and selling them. We read that, so this is all true history. And of course, all these plants, all these fruits are from here. That's telling you, where's a true garden of Eden, a true garden of Eden. Again, 600 crops in Africa out of 640 they have come from America. 600. So do the percentage and the numbers right there. But yeah, so just thanks, once again for joining us today. Again, if you guys want to be featured in one of these Kurimeo Meditations episodes and build with us and share your knowledge, just let me know. Again, I'm gonna put the email in the chat. I'll eventually get to it. I get a lot of emails. If I take long to answer, I promise, I will answer eventually. But thanks to everybody for tuning in. Again, Be So Breeze for the beat in Yissa. Thank you once again, brother, for being here, and we should do this again.
Yes,
And
I.
okay, yeah, it was fun, man. Thanks for the knowledge and everything, man. And thanks to everybody that tuned in and listened. I hope you guys enjoyed the knowledge, and thank you for the donations or anything like that, to the support, everybody. Again, every Friday, Kurimeo Meditations. We're gonna try to do this every Friday. Have a guest speaker, every Friday. And we're gonna have some special people soon. You'll see special people. You guys always wanted me to talk with, so we'll see if they can get on. Let's see if they're gonna get on the hot seat. It might be a hot seat. it might be a hot seat because I got questions and I want sources and stuff, you know. But just very respectful with just you know, he know his knowledge. You know, I can't dispute anything he says. I'd have to go investigate it first. You know, I know he knows what he knows. But thanks to everybody for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a happy Friday evening, a good night with your families and loved ones. If you're just alone, hey man, you're not alone. You're really not alone. You know, you're not alone. We're here with you. Tribe up. You know, wise up. You know, unity. Let's vibe up. Build and learn. Keep learning and teach everyone else. Much love and respect. Abizo Breeze with the beat. He's gonna let us out of here. Much love, everyone.
Wow.